Hello viewers, I am Sutapa Bose. I teach at the School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today I shall describe some of the major problems that are faced by adolescents. We shall deliberate a little about the cause of these problems, but our focus will be primarily on the ways to address these issues that affect our adolescents. We shall discuss mainly some of the major problems that are faced by adolescents, the consequences of the problems and teachers' role in addressing, or we may say preventing these problems. Now, the first thing that we need to deliberate upon is, why is it necessary to deliberate on major problems faced by adolescents? Why is this topic so important? We know that India has a large population of adolescents. India is relatively a young country. In comparison to many countries of the world with a graying population, India has a large number of adolescents. Our population of adolescents happens to be quite large. We can enjoy a demographic dividend because of this large population of adolescents, provided our adolescents are healthy, they get the opportunities for education and they avail those opportunities, and the most important thing is that they do not develop habits that are harmful to them and to the society in general. Therefore, we may say that India can reap rich socio-economic dividends if the adolescent population of our country is safe, healthy and their potential. We know that adolescents have immense potential if their potential is channelized in desirable ways. By desirable ways, I mean ways that lead to individual development as well as national development. And for this we need to see that there are opportunities for education, sports, they develop healthy hobbies, and these things they can carry out effectively only if they do not get into problems that face a large number of adolescents, not only in our country, but across the world. One such problem is bullying. Bullying is far more common than we imagine. What is bullying? Bullying is an aggressive behavior. It is not a one-time behavior. It is not a one-time instance of exhibition of aggression, but it is a repetitive behavior. Bullying therefore is usually repetitive in nature, and there is a bully who may be acting alone or who may be a part of a group, rather the right appropriate word for it is a gang. The bully may be individually bullying someone or as a part of a group, he or she may be bullying someone, and apart from the bully there is also someone who is being bullied. The bully therefore intends to bully and hurt the victim not once but repetitively. And when I say that the bully intends to hurt the victim, it may be physical abuse, physically hurting the victim, or it may be verbally abusing the victim, or in both ways. The end result of bullying is that someone who is bullied is hurt. And why does this happen? This happens because of an imbalance of power. There is an aggressor who feels empowered, who feels that he or she is stronger, and there is someone at the receiving end who is being bullied, who feels powerless. He or she is so powerless that she can't stop the bully from bullying. Bullying is of course a socially unacceptable behavior. Why? That is because not only does it affect the victim's sense of security and well-being, but it also hurts the bully. Well, this is surprising, but in the long run the bully is also harmed. That is because this type of aggression, which is carried out repetitively, will make such people grow up into individuals who have several psychological issues. Therefore, bullying is emerging as an international issue. It is not just that we find cases of bullying in Indian schools and in communities in India, but it is an international issue, and this is very common at schools, and it is one of the major causes of concern for children's safety at schools. And this is the reason why we consider bullying to be one of the problems associated with adolescents. Now, let us examine the relationship between the bully and the bullied. Some children are at greater risk of getting bullied. Why? That could be because of some personality issues. Some children are timid by nature, they may not be assertive, or they may have a family background because of which they are embarrassed for some reason. Maybe they are if they have a single parent family, or they may be suffering from some disability, or there may be some appearance related issues. For instance, body shaming could also be a means of bullying. In our classrooms, we find that someone who is obese may be labeled as fatty. Someone who is dark complexioned may be labeled as blackie. These instances, when carried out repetitively, will be carried out by the aggressor, who is a bully, and one who is at the receiving end will be hurt and therefore be bullied. It could be because of race, it could be because of religion, it could be because of ethnicity, and so many other factors, because of which the victim happens to be somewhat different from the rest of the children in a group, and therefore there are chances of such children getting singled out and being made the victims for bullying. Now, this is about bullying and who is bullied. And as we can make out that someone who is being hurt in this way repetitively, their personality development will definitely be affected. They would lack confidence, they would be scared, and it might scar them psychologically. Now, what happens to the bullies? One being bullied, as I said, may suffer from low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, mistrust, may even develop suicidal tendencies. Some children might not like to go to school, and at the same time they might feel embarrassed to or ashamed to admit it. They may not share it with their parents, and there is an aversion for school, and this may affect them for a long time, or maybe it would be a lifetime issue. But one who bullies may also turn out to be an adult, may grow into an adult who is more inclined towards violence and abuse and does not come out of it even in adult life. So, a problem that begins at adolescence may continue well into the adult life of an individual. Therefore, we consider bullying to be a problem which is associated with adolescence. Now, coming to the question that why do people bully? Teachers need to understand this. Until and unless teachers understand the cause, they would not be able to bring about the remedy in an effective way. Well, bullying is for causing emotional hurt or maybe for physical hurt. It could be verbal, like teasing, humiliating, excluding someone from a group, not including people. That is also a sort of bullying. Keeping someone isolated, damaging someone's possessions. For example, there are cases in our classrooms when we find that a child is pushed or maybe her pencil box is taken away from her. Her pen, pencil, copybooks, books, these are destroyed, forcefully taking away something, destroying something. These instances also fall within bullying. So, why does it happen? This happens mainly for causing emotional hurt, for causing physical hurt by hitting, shoving, pushing someone, and nowadays we also find instances of cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is that technology actually expands the space within which bullying operates. It is happening not only within the classrooms. Bullying is happening not just outside the classroom, in the playground or at the bus stand or in the school bus, but because of technology, the space within which bullying is usually confined expands. And with an increasing access to advanced technology, even children have access to smartphones, they have access to internet. Incidents of cyberbullying are also on the rise. This type of bullying could involve sending hate mails, trolling someone, offensive posts, spreading someone's personal information, misusing someone's personal information, posting threats, making unsolicited advances, and so on. The list is very long. And as I have said, that bullying could be by individuals or maybe when some individuals are present together, but we say that they form gangs. Otherwise, when they are alone, they may not indulge in such behavior. This is about bullying, and what could be the teacher's role in curbing bullying? First of all, you as a teacher, you should assure support and protection to the victims. You should have such a relationship with your students that they feel free enough to come to you and complain. And your response should be such that they have confidence in you and they share their problems. If you discourage the victims or if you ask them to retaliate, then that is not going to sort out the problem, because retaliation, taking revenge, will breed more violence. Therefore, what you can tell them is that you have to remain firm while dealing with bullies, but at the same time you should not copy what the bullies are doing. And you need to tell them that you should deal firmly with bullies. If you do not like a particular behavior, tell the bully that don't do this to me, and you should support them, you should protect the victims. And when you form teams, see to it that there are teams working and try to break the gangs that indulge in bullying. You could take out some members from gangs and form mixed groups. That is because, as I said, some children will bully only when they are in the company of other bullies, but when they are working alone or when they are in the company of those who do not bully, they would also not bully. Therefore, you need to form groups carefully, and you should disorganize the groups that bully and segregate the members. See to it that they are not together, they are not playing together, they are not sitting together. Even if they are traveling by the same school bus, see to it that they occupy seats at a distance from each other. And you could surely discuss the matter with the parents of bullies as well as the victims. You need to tell the parents of bullies that there is nothing to be proud of, but rather they should talk to their children so that they stop bullying. And you can also call the parents of the victims so that they know that their child is being bullied and he or she has been putting up with it or is finding it difficult to put up with it. And you should never dismiss the victim's complaints, as bullying may not stop as easily as we think. It is not a one-time event, and we should never discourage a child from reporting bullying. We should never think that, well, children fight, children push and shove, children destroy other children's property. No, it is not possessions, it is not like that. We should never discourage reports of bullying, and we should never cover up the hurt caused by the bullies, even if they are from well connected or powerful families, because in the long run the bully is equally hurt, the bully's personality is equally destroyed, and we can ask children of our classes to frame rules to prevent bullying, and we should counsel the victim, and if we feel that the victim needs some professional help, the school counselor may be involved, or else if the problem is too serious, then even professional counselors can be roped in. Coming to the second problem of substance use and abuse. Substance abuse is a worldwide public health concern. This may start at adolescence, but if it is not addressed right at the stage of adolescence, this may affect even adults. This may in fact affect the whole life of people. In India, we know that the spread of substance abuse in young population has assumed alarming dimensions, and there are some substances which children should not be using, it is just prohibited, and there are again some substances which no one should be using. For instance, children and people of a certain age should not be consuming alcohol, and no one should be consuming drugs. So, these are some of the substances which, when these are used by children at school, we say that this is substance abuse. And then alcohol, apart from alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, pills that are not prescribed to the taker, opiates, cocaine, amphetamines, hallucinogens, depressants, inhalants, club drugs, performance enhancing drugs, even the fluid which is used for deleting ink to shoe polish, cough syrup, the list is very long, and children at schools are using these substances, and the spread is quite alarming. Most of these substances are relatively difficult to procure. It is not that someone walks into a shop and would get a bottle of alcohol or some drugs. Nevertheless, there are certain substances like cough syrup or shoe polish or glue or spirits used in ink removers and even tobacco products which are easily available. And even alcohol, although it should not be sold to children, children do have access to alcohol as well as harmful substances like drugs. Therefore, we need to keep in mind that children are having access to these substances, and we should, what should we do as teachers? We should communicate to them very strongly that even occasional use of alcohol and drugs at parties, New Year, festival, wedding ceremonies and other occasions may begin the habit of consuming these substances. Festivals are for enjoying, and how can we enjoy? When we remain alert and active, and not when we are into a slumber or stupor. There is no enjoyment at all. These things need to be told to children. And regular use of some substances like drugs and alcohol, this builds tolerance. So, it starts in a small way, but over a period of time, due to the building up of tolerance, a higher amount is required. And we also need to tell children that getting into something does not take time, it is easy, but giving up an addiction is very difficult, it is an uphill task. because of the generation of craving for the substances and the serious withdrawal symptoms when one tries to give it up, and this leads to further consumption in order to abate the symptoms. And we must also tell them that substance use is nothing glamorous. They may be watching films with actors, superstars consuming these things, but it is not at all glamorous, and the outcomes may be quite unglamorous, it may be dangerous. And we should, seeing helps to learn better than hearing lectures. Therefore, you may use videos that highlight the consequence of substance use and abuse, and following the use of videos, after the children have watched the videos, you could hold discussions. And you can also take parents into confidence that parental supervision is essential. Parents need to be strong about certain things, for instance, regulating pocket money, keeping an account of how much money the child has, how much money the child is spending, and how the money is being spent. And they should also be open for discussion with children. If necessary, you can seek the intervention of the school counselors. If you find that the problem is getting out of hand, it is better not to delay, but to seek immediate professional help. And you need to ask parents to be vigilant about empty vials at home, in the bathrooms, plastic pouches, syringes, paint cans, cigarette stubs and other things that are normally not used at home and which the child may find it difficult to explain. If you ask how these things are there in the child's room or maybe in the bathroom, and if you find that there is loss of money or valuables, don't shy away from asking the child about it, of course in a gentle manner. So, this is how you can also take parents into confidence and work together, work as partners. And it is also necessary to organize campaigns in the communities, because if the problem is there extensively and intensively in the community, it is very likely that children would pick up such habits from communities. Therefore, as a teacher, you must hold campaigns regularly in the communities. There is one more problem. It is the problem of having sexual relationship at teenage. Teenage pregnancy is very common nowadays, even among the school goers of urban areas, and surprisingly it is not because of lack of information that how young women can get pregnant, what is high risk behavior, what are the consequences of high risk behavior. It is surprising that in spite of having access to all this information, still children indulge in such behavior. And you as a teacher, you must tell them that abortion is not at all a quick solution, rather it is damaging for the body of teenagers. And most teenagers are fully aware of their options, but they may consider that contraceptions and abortions would act as shields and solutions. But you need to tell them that there is the right age for certain behaviors, and at the age of adolescence, it is the right age for studying, sports, and only when they grow into adults, they can take informed decisions about such behaviors. And you should also tell them about the risks of sexually transmitted diseases, including HIV, AIDS, and there are many other infections, sexually transmitted infections, and the consequences of unprotected sex, sex with multiple partners can lead to the spread of a number of sexually transmitted diseases like herpes, human papilloma virus. And although we say that as teachers we should not scare children, but this is one aspect for which children should feel scared. And the role of the school is that we must hold discussions on a regular basis. There are dangers associated with unprotected sex and how HIV virus spreads, and the dangers associated with teenage pregnancy and abortion, and the risks it causes to health, and we should also inform them about contraception and significance of abstinence till adulthood. They should abstain from such behavior till they gain adulthood, because as adolescents they are still children, and therefore certain behaviors are not at all appropriate for children. So, they should not indulge in certain behaviors as long as they are in their adolescence, and avoiding multiple partners is also something which is essential. And the school and the teacher must also communicate to adolescents that being progressive, being modern, being liberal does not mean being immoral. It does not mean losing values. It does not mean being reckless. And we also need to tell them that adolescence is the phase in life which should be devoted to education, building career. They should be thinking about their educational goals, about their career and health. For that, they should be into sports. They should develop healthy habits, and abstinence during adolescence is the ideal thing for teenagers, and teenage is not for motherhood and parenting. Suicide is also one of the major killers of adolescents, and this is also something which is assuming alarming proportion, and as a teacher you must keep a watch out and tell parents to look out for symptoms of depression. That is because a child who seems to be depressed or who has attempted suicide once is very likely to attempt suicide again, and therefore such children must be sent for counseling. And how will you know when a child is depressed? It is a syndrome. For instance, a child may be having symptoms of irritability, appetite loss, weight loss, fatigue, feeling of worthlessness, guilt, suicidal thoughts. We need to watch out for such signs. Social withdrawal, crying without reason, irrational worries, fear, anxiety for examination, aggression, and we need to talk to them. If required, professional help is required. There is one more problem of compulsive internet use. Now, in the days of online education, internet is essential, but at the same time it has to be used under parental supervision, monitoring, spending excessive time and visiting sites which children should not visit would be harmful in the long run. How much time are they devoting for entertainment, games, socializing, meaningless activities, harmful activities? This takes up time for academic activities and also destroys health, and this may cause addiction to internet and even problems due to visiting illegal and immoral websites. And teachers' role is that they should be cautioned about the dangers of misuse of technology, and the dangers could be related to health. There could be legal issues if they are posting some content which should not be done, if they are sharing some content which should not be done, and instead of that they should be encouraged to develop good hobbies, good health, and engage in sports instead of spending too much time. So, these are some of the problems that are very common during adolescence, and teachers and schools should play a positive role in addressing these problems. Thank you.